At number 5, the Audi RS6 Avant. This is where Germany starts making a statement that most other countries would not even attempt, because the RS6 Avant takes the idea of a practical family wagon and turns it into something that can genuinely embarrass dedicated sports cars. That combination should not work as well as it does, but Audi has spent decades refining this exact formula, and the current RS6 Avant might be the sharpest version they have ever built. From the outside, it still looks like an estate car. The roofline is long, the rear hatch is functional, and there is legitimate cargo space back there that you could actually use. But the stance tells a different story. It sits lower and wider than a normal A6 Avant. The fenders are flared, the shoulders are more aggressive, and the whole body carries this tense, coiled energy that makes it clear this is not a car built for school runs and grocery trips, even though it could absolutely handle both without complaint. Inside, Audi keeps everything where it needs to be. The materials feel expensive without being overly flashy. The seats are supportive in the right places. The driving position is spot on, and the digital displays give you all the information you need without turning into a distraction. It feels like a proper Audi interior, which means it's built with that typical German attention to detail, where every surface, every control, every material choice feels intentional. Then you look at what Audi put under the hood, and the whole thing starts making even more sense. The RS6 uses a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 that produces 591 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. Audi quotes a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds, and that's deeply ridiculous for something this practical and this heavy. That's supercar acceleration in a body shape most people associate with sensible European family life. But the real genius here isn't just the power, it's how Audi engineered the car to handle that power without falling apart as a concept. The Quattro all-wheel drive system keeps everything planted. The adaptive air suspension lets you adjust the ride depending on whether you're cruising on the highway or pushing hard on a back road. The entire chassis feels like it was designed to make speed feel controlled, not chaotic. What makes the RS6 Avant deserve this spot is the way it proves that Germany doesn't need to choose between practicality and performance. Other countries build fast wagons, sure, but very few of them feel this complete, this disciplined, this properly engineered at every level. The RS6 Avant is not pretending to be a sports car. It's not apologizing for being a wagon. It just does both things exceptionally well, and that's exactly why it opens this list. At number 4, the Porsche Cayenne Turbo S. This is where Germany shows that it can take a completely new category, one that a lot of traditional car companies are still figuring out, and immediately build something that feels like it's been perfected over decades. Because the Cayenne Turbo S isn't just Porsche's electric sports sedan, it's one of the best arguments for why electric performance cars can actually feel special. And a huge part of that comes down to how seriously Porsche took the engineering. From the outside, the Cayenne looks low, wide, and purposeful. The proportions are aggressive without being cartoonish. The roofline drops towards the rear, the haunches are muscular, and the whole car has this forward-leaning stance that makes it look fast even when it's sitting still. Porsche didn't try to make it look like a 911. They gave it its own identity, but you can still tell immediately that this is a Porsche just from the way it carries itself. Inside, the cabin mixes that typical Porsche driver focus with a level of technology that feels genuinely futuristic. There are multiple screens, but they're laid out in a way that still makes sense. The materials are top tier, the seating is excellent, and the whole environment feels like Porsche spent real time making sure it didn't just look expensive, but actually worked the way a performance car interior should. Then there's the powertrain, and this is where the Cayenne Turbo S gets serious. Porsche engineered it with a dual motor setup that produces up to 750 horsepower with launch control active. The official 0 to 60 time is 2.6 seconds, and that's properly fast by any standard, electric or otherwise. But what makes the Cayenne Turbo S different from a lot of other electric performance cars is how it feels when you're actually driving it. Porsche gave it a 2-speed transmission on the rear axle, which is rare for an EV. They tuned the chassis with the same kind of focus they bring to the 911. They made sure the steering, the weight distribution, the suspension response all feel like they came from a company that actually understands driver engagement, not just straight-line acceleration. That makes a massive difference because a lot of electric cars are quick, but very few of them feel genuinely alive. What makes the Cayenne Turbo S belong this high on the list is the way Porsche took a platform that's still relatively new for them and built something that feels like a complete performance machine, not a tech demo. And what makes Germany better here than almost anyone else is simple. Very few countries can enter a new category this late and immediately set a benchmark. The Cayenne Turbo S is proof that when Germany decides to build something, even in unfamiliar territory, the result still feels properly engineered from the ground up. At number 3, the BMW M3 CS. This is where the list starts getting into truly focused territory, because the M3 CS isn't trying to be a luxury car that happens to be fast. It's a driver's car first, and everything else comes second. And that's exactly what makes it so compelling, and that's exactly why it sits this high. BMW has been building M3s for decades now, and over that time, the car has evolved, grown, and picked up more technology, more power, and more weight. But every few generations, BMW releases a version that strips away some of the comfort, sharpens the focus, and reminds people why the M3 became iconic in the first place. The M3 CS is one of those versions. From the outside, it looks meaner than a standard M3. The hood has more vents, the bodywork is more aggressive, the carbon fiber bits are more visible, and the whole car sits with this tense, athletic stance that makes it clear this is not the version you buy for daily commuting. It's still recognizable as an M3, but it's obviously the harder, sharper, more serious version. Inside, BMW keeps the cabin focused. There's still luxury here, but it's not the priority. The seats are lighter and more supportive. The materials are high quality, but not overly plush. The whole environment is built around the idea that this car exists for driving, and everything else is secondary. That's a very specific kind of philosophy, and it's one that BMW has always done well when they commit to it. The M3 CS uses a 3-liter twin-turbo inline-6 that produces 543 horsepower. BMW quotes a 0 to 60 time of 3.2 seconds, and the top speed is electronically limited to 188 miles per hour. Those are serious numbers, but what makes the CS special isn't just the power, it's how BMW tuned the entire car around that power. The suspension is stiffer, the chassis is more responsive, the steering is sharper, the weight has been reduced compared to the standard M3 competition. Everything about the CS is designed to make the car feel more connected, more immediate, more alive. And that's the magic here, because Germany has always been exceptional at building cars that feel like proper tools, not just fast objects. What makes the M3 CS deserve this spot is the way it proves that Germany can take an already great performance car and make it even better by removing distractions and sharpening the focus. Very few countries build driver's cars this well, and fewer can do it while still keeping the underlying engineering this precise, this disciplined, this complete. At number 2, the Mercedes-AMG GT Black Series. This is where Germany stops being polite, because the AMG GT Black Series is not a car built for comfort, practicality, or everyday usability. It is a car built to dominate. And it does that by taking everything Mercedes-AMG knows about building fast cars and pushing it to an extreme that most manufacturers would never even attempt on a street-legal vehicle. The Black Series name has always meant something specific at AMG. It is the most hardcore, most track-focused, most uncompromising version of a car they can build while still keeping it legal for the road. And the AMG GT Black Series might be the most extreme version of that idea they have ever released. From the outside, it looks violent. The body is wider, lower, and more aggressive than the standard AMG GT. There's a massive rear wing, huge front splitter, functional aerodynamic elements all over the car, and a level of visual intensity that makes it clear this is not a car you buy to look good at a valet stand. This is a car built to produce downforce, reduce drag, and carve through corners at speeds that would make most other road cars feel completely out of their depth. The inside, the cabin, is stripped down compared to a normal AMG GT. There is still luxury, but it is purposeful luxury. The seats are fixed-back racing buckets. The materials are high quality, but lightweight. The whole environment is built around one idea: making the driver faster. That's what the Black Series has always been about, and the AMG GT version does not deviate from that philosophy for a second. Then there's the engine, and this is where things get genuinely absurd. The AMG GT Black Series uses a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 that has been heavily modified to produce 720 horsepower and 590 foot-pounds of torque. Mercedes-AMG quotes a 0 to 60 time of 3.1 seconds and a top speed of 202 miles per hour. Those numbers alone are supercar territory, but the Black Series backs them up with chassis tuning, aerodynamics, and braking performance that make it genuinely capable on a track. This is not a car that just goes fast in a straight line. The suspension is adaptive and track-focused. The aerodynamics are wind tunnel tested and fully functional. The brakes are massive carbon ceramic units that can handle repeated hard stops without fading. The entire car is engineered to be fast everywhere, not just on a drag strip. What makes the AMG GT Black Series belong at number 2 is the way it shows that Germany can build a street-legal car that is genuinely track-ready without turning it into a compromised, unlivable nightmare. Yes, it's extreme. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's loud, stiff, and completely impractical for anything resembling normal life. But it's also one of the most focused, most capable, most brutally effective performance cars you can buy. And that's exactly why it sits this high on the list.